Okay, I'm with Kevin Eastman, who created the famous Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I wanted to ask you, first of all, for inspiration for many comic book artists that want to be where you are today.
Mm-hmm.
So you started this, you and Peter Laird, is that his name? Okay, created this in 1984.
That's correct.
Y'all self-published it. So in what year did you start creating the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle?
Well, the story goes basically in 1983, Peter Laird and I shared a studio. It was our living room, which is, we called it Mirage Studios because it wasn't a studio, it was a mirage. It was our living room. And one night late in the studio, I did this sketch to make Peter laugh. It was a turtle standing upright with nunchucks strapped to his arms.
Uh-huh.
I threw it on his desk and I said, it's a Ninja Turtle. It's going to be the next big thing. And he did laugh, and he said, in a studio you kind of have this one-upmanship. So he, of course, had to do a drawing to top my drawing. So he did a sketch of a turtle, same kind of thing, changed some things. And then I had to one-up him, so I did a sketch of 4 turtles, all with different weapons, sort of in pencil. And I had this cartoony comic block that said Ninja Turtles, and when he inked it in, he had a Teenage Mutant to it. And as I love to say, we didn't have any distracting paying work going on in those days, so the next day we get up and said, we should really come up with a story that tells how these characters got to be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And that was November of 1983, and we started working on the first issue then, and the first issue came out in May of 1984.
So how did that take place? Like, what money did y'all have to put up, and what did y'all have to do to get it self-published? Did y'all just have to print them up, and how did you do that?
Well, luckily, back in those days, there was more of a direct market, like a non-returnable market, like Diamond Comics is kind of the only distributor that does that now. But back in the old days, there was like 26 different distributors. So what we were able to do is put out a solicitation, and we had gotten some orders in, and I borrowed some money from an uncle because we didn't have any money, and we scraped together enough money to print 3,000 copies, and that's where we put together the first issue. That's why there's only 3,000, because that was with the local printer in Dover, New Hampshire. That's exactly what we could afford to print, was just 3,000.
So where did you distribute it to? Like all the comic book stores all over the nation, or how did you first go about that?
Well, we put out a press release, and we got a little bit of press, but it was mostly, I think, New England. But it did go to different parts of the country, but I think it was still heavily New England based. We lived in New Hampshire at the time, so it just seemed to resonate more, like they'd heard about it or read about it or something. But we sold mostly there.
So in this day of age where like social media is a big thing, would that trump like press releases? Or I mean, how would you say comic book artists today should still go through a press release and do all that, or would social media trump that, do you think?
Well, it's funny because you think back when we did it, we didn't even have fax machines then. There was no cell phones, fax machines, anything. So we literally Xeroxes were still a new thing. So we went and photocopied a bunch of our press releases, and we mailed them out. You should go to the library and get the location of different newspaper services, and we got all the local newspapers, and we basically mailed them a copy of our press release. But I think that anything you can do, social media or any other means to reach any kind of an audience, you have to do it. I mean, if you can make a splash with your friends on Facebook and get them to friend it and like it, and or go to your local shows or put it up on websites, or do ad swaps or ad trades with different comic book type of locations. Like we did, one of the things that we did do as part of the budget with the first 3,000 copies, we set aside enough money to do one ad in the Comics Buyer's Guide, which was a comic book newspaper that was you had to subscribe to, but it was sold all over the country. So we took one ad there to sell them a single copy at a time, and we got a lot of people saw the ad there, went to the local comic store and said, can we get this book? So we started getting calls from distributors and shops that way too. So it's sort of whatever means possible. Press release, social media, tweeting, public nudity, arrest records, things, everything.
Public nudity.
Or
So do you think it's easier today, or do you think it's like the market's saturated, like with everything?
It's a completely different planet. I mean, when Turtles are coming up on 30 years old, it's completely different with how people get media, entertainment from a million different directions. We're bombarded every day. I mean, we still had, back in those days, when you got cable, you basically added 25 or 30 new channels. Now it's like, but it's still, it's like, I think that audiences are aware of what's shit and what's not, and what's and what appeals to them. And I think there's a lot of different you see most things that become popular. It's like one person over here sees something, likes it, and then it spreads virally, and that's why you have these people. Suddenly you have Susan Boyle with 20 million hits and stuff like that. So it's a matter of it. If it resonates in pop culture, then you could have a hit or
Well, have you ever thought about everything's recycled? People that grew up on Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles and Star Wars and all that.
Say that 3 times.
Yeah, say that three times real fast. But it's all recycled, and their kids, they're giving them the same toys that are brand new that they grew up playing. Have you ever thought about 100 years from now they'll release more Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles?
Well, they'll probably be in the future. There'll be Teenage Mutant Star Wars Turtles.
I know what it is. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Can you say it 3 times real fast? I want to hear you say it 3 times real fast.
I ain't doing it.
Come on, you can do it.
No,
you created it. You can do it.
TMNT.
But have you ever thought? Have you ever thought about this is your legacy, and 100 years from now, that?
Well, I've already got
little kids.
My coffin is a turtle-shaped coffin. I'm going to actually be buried in a coffin that looks like a turtle, No, I'm not. No,
I like it. I'm going to do it.
A kiss coffin. No, it's funny because when we started, I read comics, Jack Kirby, things like that, and all of my inspiration for the Turtles came from guys that inspired me, and I've gone on to meet now maybe 30 years later, and I meet different artists that are sitting in the aisles here that are drawing their own comics because they were inspired by the Turtles. To me, that's a huge compliment because it's sort of like passing it down the line, passing the baton. So to have a legacy, to have just one of these guys in line would be awesome. But the fact that I've got a line here that are waiting to say hi and have me sign something is pretty much the most awesome thing in the world. So I'm very appreciative of that. So as long as, they all visit my grave site, when I'm dead, and, like Jim Morrison in Paris, they weep, and it's a big thing every year, my birthday, and but no, it's a wonderful legacy to have. It really is.
So of all the things that's come out, there's been concerts, there's been toys, everything of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Is there anything that you just turns your stomach like, oh, I can't believe that from 1983 when I started creating this, I would have never dreamed that they did this with this. Is there anything that bothers you, or do you love it all?
Turtle prophylactics. That's the weirdest.
Is there really?
No, there wasn't.
Okay.
No, there was.
I was thinking maybe there has been.
No, the weirdest was they made these Hostess ninja pies that looked like a little pastry with you see them with fruit filling, and in the Turtles they put this green ooze custard, and it was. Remember those? Do you like those? Are I grew up on Yoo-Hoos and Twinkies, but that was fucking gross. Sorry, can I say fucking on your show?
Yeah,
no,
that's fine.
That was gross.
All right, one more and we'll wrap it up.
And I wanted to ask you about heavy metal. So
yes.
Now you're the new owner, publisher, editor. When did you acquire the rights to that, and how's that going?
I bought Heavy Metal Magazine about 20 years ago, 1990. It's going great. The magazine still has such a wonderful following as well, and we're actually working on a new Robert Rodriguez heavy metal movie, animated movie. So we're actually, part of the fun stuff we're doing in Austin is working with Robert on the heavy metal movie as well. So hopefully I'll be back to your lovely city sometime soon.
Great. Well, thanks for your time, man.
Thanks,
I really
guys.
appreciate
Awesome.
it. Can you draw one thing for me?